Here, these are the first details now that Times Now has access with respect to the attack on the 46 RR camp. Now, what we're given to understand is that perhaps the war ammunition dump, which is inside the 46 RR camp, that could have been the target, and that is exactly what the agencies suspect at this point in time. Remember, multiple camps across Kashmir do have these ammunition dump. These have a variety of ammunitions and explosives, and that could have caused maximum damage. What basically gives credence to this entire fact is that, remember, these terrorists were also cutting wire, they had wire cutters, and the very fact that this was not a Fidain attack, and more importantly, this was essentially to shoot and scoot, they would have attacked the war ammunition dump, which could have created maximum damage. Apart from that, we're given to understand that little after 10 o'clock, we were given to understand that there was some sort of an unusual movement that was taking place. There were 3 bunkers, one which was basically being manned by the BSF, 2 others by the army. It was the BSF sentry post which basically first got alerted when they found there was some sort of an unusual movement soon after, when dogs started barking in that entire area. It was Constable Nitin who had basically moved out of the bunker, and thereafterwards he was the first one who actually sustained injuries. Remember, he had deep injuries, but despite that, he engaged with the terrorists. The terrorists, within 15 to 20 minutes, were given to understand that they basically fired UBJLs more than 15 to 20 times. Now, that is one of the reasons why Stand 2 was basically declared in that particular camp, with the Kiwatis immediately responding. As far as the recoveries are concerned, remember, there is already the BSF has already recovered 30 rounds of AK-47 ammunition, and these pictures were first accessed by the Times Now on that very day when that particular attack took place, and thereafterwards the recoveries was made. As of now, as far as the concern for the BSF is the very fact that these terrorists had escaped. The first, they had suspected that probably the terrorists could have taken the route from the river Jhelum, but the other, now we're given to understand, is that perhaps they believe that these terrorists may have mixed with the civilian population, which is just next to that particular camp.
Right. So that would be a major cause of concern then, which means there are terrorists milling around with the civilians in that area. So the BSF, in that sense, has a challenge ahead of them to locate and neutralize those terrorists. But in terms of what was averted, Shravan, that is extremely critical. I believe there was a major dump of war ammunition in 46 RR.
Absolutely, and that's the main concern right now. The reason why they believe that perhaps the terrorists had planned to attack the war ammunition dump, because remember, these war ammunition dump, which is there in various camps, but these are basically sensitive camps. These dumps have variety of ammunitions and explosives. If attacked, that could really cause maximum damage, and that is what we are learning from our sources, that perhaps that was the motive, that was the mandate that was basically given to these terrorists, because remember, they had crawled all the way to that particular camp. Thereafterwards, we were given to understand that they had wire cutters, and their aim was to cut those wires, the perimeter, the outside perimeter of that particular camp, move in and basically lob grenades on that particular war ammunition dump. That would have really caused the major damage, but it is because of the work done by Constable Nitin that this entire operation was averted, because it was Constable Nitin who was the first one to basically spot some sort of unusual movement that was just taking place outside that particular camp. He was thereafter asked by his colleague to basically move out and check whether anyone was coming in. That time he was the first one to spot. These terrorists had basically divided into 2 groups, we are given to understand, but the attack was essentially restricted to the rear end of the 46 RR camp.